Joining me now to break this down, attorney and host of the radio show Sekulow Live, Jordan Sekulow. Jordan, good to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Liz.
All right, let's start with this question of the day today. I mean, 9 days. Congress had 8 years to come up with an alternative plan. They left it to this deadline, 9 days left. If they fail to pass something that is acceptable, what is our healthcare system going to look like a year from now?
A disaster, which will lead to, likely, if I was predicting, if I had my hands on a crystal ball, it would be that they would be bailing out Obamacare a year from now because it would be so catastrophic, the cost, the basic inability to use the healthcare exchanges for those that need to utilize them, and then also the impact it has even on people who do get healthcare through their employer or get it because of their age or their income level. But so not just for the narrow category that Obamacare was supposed to target, but for basically all of us, so the system would need a bailout in a year from now. And we've seen that with other entitlement programs from the federal government in the past, that if you let them go too long without major changes and or repealing them, then you end up just keep continuing to throw money at them, which increases the debt, and you kind of throw it on to the next generation and the next generation. That'd be my top concern right off the bat. Then long term, I'd fear the single payer option, because even throwing money at it only works for so long. This is such a huge cost that if the costs don't come down, if things don't change, then you've got the whole idea that the left's starting to float already again of bringing a totally government-controlled healthcare system, which is scary.
Right, it's super scary. And listen, this is what conservatives have said all along. This is what they said when Obama was campaigning on Obamacare, when he was presenting this, when he was making all these grand promises, which he did not keep about Obamacare. They said a system like this is an entitlement. It is not sustainable. What's going to happen is it's going to drain the government's resources. It's going to cause higher taxes, less quality of care, less access to care, and then it's going to funnel us onto a single-payer system, because once you give people an entitlement like this, it's hard to pull back. People would rather give a little bit more of their liberty to receive in exchange a little bit more, at least of the promise of security, but that's not how it ends up working out.
And even under this newer Republican plan, which I think, is better than nothing at this point, it gets us somewhere and also gets the Democrats off of the idea. I think there are some Democrats you can kind of unleash if you can get this across the line. I don't know if you can, but if you can, I think then there are some moderate Democrats who would come to the table and work and kind of see this as a phase one of the full repeal of Obamacare. I don't think we'd stop and want to stop there. But, when we talk about that, we see these Republican governors, which, just to prove your point about these entitlement programs, these Republican governors in states that receive a ton of money under Obamacare, whether it's Maryland, New Jersey, Ohio, they don't want to be responsible. Under the new plan, as you said, it'd be a lot of Republican governors that would be responsible for how to exercise these funds that would be given to them by the federal government to run healthcare system, which I think is still better than the federal government doing it. I don't think many of them want that responsibility. I mean, it's just kind of interesting to see. And it also goes to, once their people are getting used to entitlements, they're worried that if they don't run it effectively, which is just the kind of politicians that I can't stand, because we elect them to be governors, to govern and to make tough decisions. And I think even they are trying to run away from any kind of reform whatsoever. Think about it. I mean, we're talking about small steps here, and that's still too much for some Republican governors. Not all, but some, the ones states I've named.
Right. Well, at this point, it shouldn't even surprise us, given the fact that after 8 years, they haven't even been brave enough to put forth an alternative. Of course, they don't want everything else riding on them. I agree with what you said. The Graham-Cassidy bill is better than Obamacare. It's the first step, but it's only better than Obamacare because they left it until there's 9 days left for the deadline. That's the only reason. Jordan, I want to get you to weigh in on this. So the Democrats are using celebrities for their talking points when it comes to why we should not repeal Obamacare. Jimmy Kimmel, everyone's heard about the Jimmy Kimmel, Senator Cassidy, I guess feud. That might be being a little dramatic about naming it. But I want to look at this video, show our viewers this video, and get you to weigh in. Take a look.
And this new bill actually does pass the Jimmy Kimmel test, but a different Jimmy Kimmel test. With this one, your child with a pre-existing condition will get the care he needs if and only if his father is Jimmy Kimmel. Otherwise, you might be screwed. Now, I don't know what happened to Bill Cassidy, but when he was on this publicity tour, he listed his demands for a health care bill very clearly. These were his words. He said he wants coverage for all, no discrimination based on pre-existing conditions, lower premiums for middle-class families, and no lifetime caps. And guess what? The new bill does none of those things. Coverage for all? No. In fact, it'll kick about 30 million Americans off insurance. Pre-existing conditions? No. If the bill passes, individual states can let insurance companies charge you more if you have a pre-existing condition. You'll find that little loophole later in the document after it says they can't. They can and they will. But will it lower premiums? Well, in fact, for lots of people, the bill will result in higher premiums. And as far as no lifetime caps go, the states can decide on that too, which means there will be lifetime caps in many states.
All right, Jordan. So to me, I mean, this is making the rounds, but it's completely disingenuous. His Jimmy Kimmel test is completely disingenuous because if you apply those same principles that he's talking about, two principles, coverage for all, and then everyone getting everything that they need. First of all, Obamacare fails both of those tests. Even a single-payer, government-run, socialized medicine healthcare system would fail those tests because of rationing. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, you would never get that under those kind of plans. You would not get what you want all the time. Jimmy Kimmel probably, he does have a great health care plan. I know he's had children that have faced concerns and have heart surgeries. And so because of the probably great health care plans he's got, privately, he's been able to utilize his insurance. But if you go to other countries that have these single-payer plans where coverage is for all, they start making decisions. What's the likelihood of this child living to a certain point? What's the percentages? So should it be end-of-life care, or should we actually try to save them? The second part about this is you see this disdain for states having a role in government. And we choose which state we live in. All of us do that. Some is based off work. Some is based off the tax structure. But we're allowed to choose that, and we're allowed to do it very freely. The fact is that, yes, in the legislation, states can apply for waivers for certain requirements through the act, like waivers on what is an essential health benefit. Nothing is a guarantee that the federal government's going to waive coverage for those with pre-existing conditions or for other essential benefits. But it allows states to try and tailor health care more specifically to the citizens they have, which means California, and where Jimmy Kimmel is going to have a lot different system, and they can still use their block grant money to expand Medicaid and cover all the essential benefits they want than a state like Tennessee or Georgia or Florida. I mean, that's just the bottom line truth. And that's typically been a better experience in the United States. But of course, if you're relying on Jimmy Kimmel to do your policy, and again, he may be able to offer some pithy remarks written to him on a teleprompter. But the truth is that he has no idea what he's talking about. And he's one of the elites economically. I mean, he's making millions of dollars, has great health care, and he's trying to tell all of us how the government should do it for everyone else.
Right. He reminds me of when Hillary Clinton said on the campaign that she's so far removed from the struggles of the middle class that she has a hard time understanding that. Well, I think that's the same with Jimmy Kimmel, with all due respect. He even admitted that himself. But you're absolutely right about federalism. I mean, people forget how important it is to have states as a laboratory of democracy. There should be states that have better rules and regulations, better health care even than other states, because that gives people the incentive to either pressure their state legislatures to get them what they want, or they move to another state. It's a natural check and balance. It's actually a good thing to have that kind of competition.